Welcome back to Everything Ratchet & Clank. Now guys, a year from now, it is going to be the 15th anniversary of the Ratchet & Clank series, and very recently, I've been wondering if Sony is planning on doing anything about it, and that's pretty much why I'm bringing you guys this video. The very first Ratchet & Clank game was released back on November 4th, 2002, and this was for the PlayStation 2. For anniversaries and stuff like that, we actually got full Frontal Assault for the 10th anniversary, and this was back on November 27th, 2012. It was a new game, yes, but it wasn't everyone's favorite. The game was tower defense, and it felt completely different than what we're used to. Back then, I feel like Insomniac Games was testing the series to see if they could try anything new or anything different. Honestly, I had fun with that game, especially when it came to online. But I gotta agree with some of the fans, the game just didn't feel the same. It's tower defense we're talking about, so there you have it. Once I saw the character models, I was like, okay, this looks different. It still has Ratchet & Clank on it, I'll still buy it. Out of all games they've developed so far, All for One and Full Frontal Assault, I believe it was their weakest. That's just my opinion. Anyways guys, let's get back to the point of the video. On August 28, 2012, we got a collection which featured Ratchet & Clank 1 going Commando and Up Your Arsenal for the PlayStation 3. Now what if we get a brand new collection that features the Future trilogy? And for what console? The PS4. Now I've been wondering, could Sony decide to release the collection we got on the PlayStation 3 on the PlayStation 4? Well, here's the thing with that collection. Yeah, that game did get released in 2012, but 2 years later in 2014, the PS Vita versions got out. So to release the same collection 3 years later for the 15th anniversary, I don't know, it's probably too soon. But the decision is ultimately made by Sony. When it comes to collections or HD ports, it's up to the publisher, it's up to Sony. Insomniac Games is involved in some way, but they're not the ones who produce it. What will Sony want to do in the future? Will they want to bring back the Future trilogy for the PlayStation 4, the classic games, the games we got on PlayStation 3, the collection, or something completely different? Guys, what about Size Matters and Secret Agent Clank? Now about those games, are they canon? It's debatable. Some people think they're canon, some people think the opposite. I believe that all of the Ratchet & Clank games are canon when it comes to the story, well, except for Ratchet & Clank Mobile. And about that, in 2014, Vidi, the admin on the forums of Insomniac Games, mentioned that they considered these spin-offs non-canon. Although that was mentioned on the forums, some people still have different opinions. Now about Size Matters, that game was considered Ratchet & Clank 5 in Japan, so that's why it's kinda debatable, questionable. Everyone thinks differently. About Secret Agent Clank, out of all games, maybe Secret Agent Clank might feel the one that's maybe non-canon, and here's why. In Ratchet & Clank 3, Secret Agent Clank was simply a TV show. Clank being an actual spy in this game, it feels weird. But anyways, Size Matters and Secret Agent Clank were both developed by High Impact Games. Then again guys, Vidi did say that Size Matters and Secret Agent Clank are non-canon. I wanna know what you guys think about that. You know what, let's leave it at that. Someone from Insomniac Games mentioned that they treated those games as non-canon, so let's stick to that. But still guys, if you have any questions, if you're confused about anything, just mention everything in the comment section. Now for High Impact Games, it was formed in 2003 by former members of Insomniac Games and Naughty Dog, so pretty much some employees of Insomniac and Naughty Dog brought us Ratchet & Clank titles. Size Matters was released in 2007 for the PSP, 2008 for the PS2. Secret Agent Clank was released in 2008 for the PSP and 2009 for the PlayStation 2. So pretty much it's been 9 years ever since for Size Matters, 7 years for Secret Agent Clank. Okay, they weren't developed by Insomniac Games, but those games, they were quite enjoyable. The Ratchet & Clank reimagining is selling pretty well. A lot of new people got introduced to the series and reviews are pretty great. What better way to get them even more into the series than releasing a complete new remaster for the PlayStation 4? This remaster could be a collection, maybe a collection which features the Future Saga, or a collection which features the older games, Secret Agent Clank and Size Matters. Now for those two games, they were quite enjoyable, but Size Matters had better reviews and a better score overall. But those games overall, they weren't terrible. Plus, those games were published by Sony, so who knows what's going on in Sony's head right now. Okay, A Crack in Time got released in 2009, and that's my favorite from the series. It's been almost 7 years. Tools of Destruction got released in 2007. Quest for Booty got released in 2008. Quest for Booty only got a physical physical copy in PAL regions. It was only available for digital download in North America. So now, what do I mean by a collection of the Future trilogy? Why not have a collection with Tools of Destruction, Quest for Booty, and A Crack in Time for the PlayStation 4? Okay, for Into the Nexus, that game got released in 2013. Could they also fit in Into the Nexus? Quest for Booty is a short game, but usually publishers and developers, they work around with trilogies, not quadrilogies. So 4 games on 1 disc? I don't know. Okay, there's PlayStation Now, but we have to rely on subscriptions and all. And plus, it's all about streaming and stuff. And about that streaming service, it has Quest for Booty, All for One, Into the Nexus, Full Frontal Assault, A Crack in Time, but it doesn't have Tools of Destruction nor the collection. So technically, the classic games are still not available for the PlayStation 4. And like I said in the beginning, since the collection got released on the PS Vita 2 years ago, it might be too soon to get introduced to the PlayStation 4. Okay, to completely summarize what I just said, Ratchet & Clank the reimagining is selling pretty well. Sony might decide to bring something new to the table, perhaps a new remaster, a new collection, maybe a collection of the Future trilogy. Maybe Sony might decide to bring the classic collection for the PlayStation 4, but it's probably way too early for that. But who knows what Sony might be planning for the 15th anniversary. Okay, talking about the 15th anniversary, why not a brand new sequel to the reimagining? It's way too early. The game got released last April. Insomniac Games, they have separate teams if I'm not mistaken, but for now, the majority moved on to Spider-Man. So for a new sequel to the reimagining, it's still too early. Plus, why rush a game that's just a terrible idea? If we get at least some sort of collection for the 15th anniversary, that will be super cool. But who will develop it? That's the question. High Impact Games has not been active since 2012. And like I said before, Insomniac Games doesn't handle HD ports. I have a question, guys. What about Deadlocked? Deadlocked, I absolutely loved the gameplay. Story-wise, it was a bit weak compared to the others, but gameplay was just terrific. Playing with your friends at home, co-op, online, I love it. And about Deadlocked, those who bought Full Frontal Assault at release were able to download Deadlocked for free. Insomniac and Sony decided to do that simply to make up with the delay of the PS Vita version of the game. Like I said, guys, the gameplay of Deadlocked is fantastic in my opinion. Why not include that game in a collection which features Secret Agent Clank and Size Matters? And this time, completely patch the game. There's a lot of weird glitches. Co-op is awesome, but the lagging is just terrible. So what would you guys think of a fully patched Deadlocked for the PlayStation 4? I would absolutely love that idea. Yes, Deadlocked is digitally available on the PlayStation 3, but like I said before, it's full of glitches and weird bugs, not to mention that lag in co-op. So for Deadlocked to be part of a brand new collection for the PlayStation 4 wouldn't sound like such a bad idea. What do you guys think about that? As for Full Frontal Assault, which got released in 2012, All for One 2011, and Into the Nexus November 2013, what if Sony were to decide to bring a collection which would feature those games? Then again, Into the Nexus got released almost 3 years ago. It might be too early. Plus, these games that I just mentioned, they're not fan favorites, so I doubt it. Out of everything, I think a Future Trilogy collection for the PlayStation 4 might be the most likely case. And I don't know if you guys knew about this, but in Japan, there's actually a collection which features Into the Nexus, Full Frontal Assault, and Quest for Booty. It's called Ratchet & Clank Ginga Saikyu 3-Star Pack. So pretty much, Japan gets the good stuff. While Quest for Booty and Into the Nexus put together in a collection, that's pretty cool. But anyways guys, this video was just about speculations and ideas, and I'd like to know what you guys think about these ideas. Would you like to see a brand new collection for the 15th anniversary of Ratchet & Clank? Tell me what you think in the comment section, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, I've been Vivi, and thanks for watching.